Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the second video that I've made today. Did this one backwards. Brian Jennings here, your host, the Millennial Dragon. This channel exists to discuss the nature of reality as well as the nature of my relationship with show business, in particular Quentin Tarantino. His evil has hit a fever pitch of late, and his argument always is and will be that I am delusional. But the truth of the matter is that the tactics in which he buries my mind in savage evil, right, that degrade his soul to nothing, are the same tactics that he used to try to make me a movie star. He set me up at a screening of Jackie Brown to have me question him about his book, Cinema Speculation. And when I didn't bend to his psychic whim, because he didn't send me a document, he didn't send me anything that said, hey, I want you to question me about my book. He just put it into my mind with his mind power and then made a bunch of jokes about me with Robert De Niro. Right? Everything that he said on the panel was in relation to me questioning him about Cinema Speculation and being introduced as the movie critic. So I had a letter. I wrote him a letter 2 times after he canceled the film because of me. Refused both times. And so I shoved that letter all the way up to his face at the screening of Jackie Brown. And he stuck his nose up at me and turned his back on me, and so I did the same thing. I've run the gambit psychologically. Make no mistake, I hated myself for months. I quit my job, right, because he started his campaign against my sanity soon thereafter. Because he revealed himself to me, right? And this is the level that he thinks on. He thinks malevolent evil is like the appropriate, like subtle, cunning, right? He could have just wrote me a letter and said, you blew it, that was your shot. Right, but this is about my scene. I sent him a scene about a writer yelling at people for reading his writing. Movie Critic's about a writer. So that set into motion a sequence of events that led to where we are now. And since April, the evil has hit a fever pitch. It took between August through January for me to realize in full that he just wants me to die. He did all of it for me to commit suicide and say, oh gosh, it's all so much. I don't understand what's occurring. And then from then to April, I was trying to come clean really bad. And then he descended into real black magic evil, which he stole from me. Right? He doesn't understand the game that he plays. And so anyone who's interested in that, I invite you to watch the video, A Plea to the Pope. And after that happened, I said, we're good, we're cool. You just go anywhere else. Just go away. And so after about a week of amicability, he said, oh, I want you to sue. And so I took a job sorting trash with the Florence Recycling Center. I live in Florence, Alabama. And he thought that it was funnier the whole time to plague my mind with notions of him trying to give me diseases with hypodermic needles, right? Like, this is really dangerous, ugly, high evil, right? It's the ugliest, highest evil anyone can possibly practice. And so after he did that for weeks, not for a day, for like a month, I quit my job and I can't work anymore. And so his argument was just flimsy and shallow intellectually, is that I'm not well, right? And so my point is that if I was not telling the truth, right, I would be the movie critic, right? Because if he spoke to me simply, if he sent me a document and said, I want you to question me about cinema speculation, when he stuck his nose up at me and turned his back on me, I wouldn't have been proud. That's the real point, right? I'm a simple guy. And so now, right, now that I can't work, I see, right, like, no, we can't work. I'm talking about it every day, and I just moved into this apartment. It's a real dump, but I'm grateful to be here. If you recall, last video I made, I was putting these together, and we're almost done. It's 30 of these squares. They're very time consuming. So, this weekend has been really bad. Yesterday was awful. I went to the library to write up a document about explaining why he canceled the film, and it was because of the films I reviewed in protest. He wanted to give me a shot. And so, right, his evil has just been so ugly, so dangerously hideous. And so I wanted to say something about how he could have the scene for free. I don't care, like, this isn't about, like, okay, you made your point. And so I wrote an email, how it along, and then that document as well, which was about 1 page. I didn't go on and on about the things that I often talk about here, because it's never done me any good, has it? Because he just looks at everyone in the eye and says, oh gosh, how unfortunate, he's lost his mind. Right? Which of course is a lazy answer intellectually. It's not an appropriate answer in any way. Right? But he's a famous guy. That Quentin Tarantino. So, when I went to the library yesterday, right, poisoned my mind with notions of assassins in the wings. Right? Oh, just a delusional guy, right? Like, no, like it's all the same tactics, right? He sent a thought force out, right? A thought is a force, and philosophy should be an energy, right? That he wanted me to question him about cinema speculation. And then, when I didn't do that, because he didn't accept my letter, he sent another thought force out, that I have a young woman who loves you. She's my daughter. And then, he sent another thought force out. Right? Originally I thought it was a lot of people, but it might just all be him. Like, he could just be like a sick practitioner. And then the thought was, the idea was, oh, I'm a bitch and a whore, and I don't want to be with you. It's ridiculous. It's like the most petty use of clairvoyant phenomenon. And then he pushed another thought out. Right? That Anastasio wants to help me play Hamlet. But not before. He pushed a thought out that he wanted the Discovery Institute to help me play Hamlet. And this is all the subject of my novel, Building a Coven. But not before. Right? It goes on and on. Right? But inevitably, I started remote viewing for the first time at the beginning of the year. And then, right, his daughter turned into a bitch. My daughter's a slut who fucks men for thrills, $500 an hour. She gets pissed on. That's Quentin Tarantino's daughter. And after I continued to remote view her, he said, oh, I have no daughter. And then I've been trying to come clean ever since. Like, that's when I stopped trusting him. And I don't trust anything that he says now in this way. I can't. And he's done it in some way. I wear it well, but of course, I'll question my every thought forever. I know what I'm into when I do those things. But anytime he wants to be evil, either of us can. This isn't. Right? It's easy. If you understand. And so what do I mean when I say that? Well, I suppose that's the topic of its own discussion, isn't it? Someone looks out at the world, looks out at creation, and says, oh, it's an accident. And that's sad, isn't it? But valid, intellectually. So if we say that life is not an accident, then all psychic phenomenon must emerge from the same divinity that shapes all of creation. All of life exists as a holographic projector. And the power supply, as well as the transmuter of the hologram, is what we call the conscious field, which transmutes quantum probability out of its inert state of rest into a corrupted kinetic state of corpuscular measurable matter. As a thought force, it's the same force, that's the point. And so space is aligned in a particular way. The first of which is an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra, right? This is why we're making this. This is a spherical square. This is a spherical pentagon, right? So I'm making the rhombi-cosododecahedron, which is 12 pentagons, 20 triangles, and 30 squares. The second division, equal in nobility, equally necessary, is the impetus for motion, which I have often referred to as the divine light of deity. But essentially it's a pressure, it's a motive pressure upon the firmament. And so the expression of God's knowing is a reflection of the pressure against the quantum hologram, which is a subspatial structuring of an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra. Nothing else has ever been occurring. The continued concentration proliferates more complex cellular structure and inevitably man, mineral, vegetable, animal man. So, knowing that, we see the pathway to the practitioner, to the magician. The things that people refer to as psychic, telepathic, clairvoyant, telekinesis, psychokinesis, thaumaturgy. Right? These are all the same things that people referred to as magic and sorcery in centuries past. They're not similar things, they're the same things. So, inevitably, you have a practitioner. You arrive at the practitioner, which is the artist. A pure artist is channeling from some noble divinity and exercising his spiritual clairvoyance as an act of will and expression of spirit. Every time. Any great artist of merit have all attested to this one infallible truth. All of life emerges out of a spiritual certainty, and therefore all creative acts of man must come from same said spiritual channeling. And so the practitioner, right, the voodoo doctor, right, that they're all of these things, right? The nun, the priest, right, that they're all hearkening to the same idea, right? The witch doctor, right? That mind, right? The conscious field permeates all of space, right? And this individual mind that anyone has, right, can be used as the emotive, right, or motive, right? Emotive, I suppose, on some level. Can be used as the motor force, right, which exerts pressure upon the quantum waveform of probability and transmutes it and fractures the hologram and rearranges it into a kinetic corpuscular shadow. That's what's occurring every time. So, right? Most clairvoyants don't understand that. And sweet religion makes a rhapsody of words. Right? But that's what Quentin's doing. He doesn't understand that. Maybe he does now, but... And so that's what I do. That's why I put these shapes together. Not to violate someone's mind, to fortify my psyche. Right? If we say that remote viewing, which is also tied into clairvoyance, which is also tied into magic, is a branch of the psychic phenomenon, we know that it is, then it must stand that if an individual remote views someone else living on the earth, right? The collective unconscious, like maybe you could see Christ on the cross, like all these things, but no, we're not going that far, you know. But if you say, oh, every time I've come up with this mathematical ratio, and I call it the square law. That's funny, I'm making squares, right? Isaac Newton, his gravitational constant is known as the inverse square law. And so, if I take this triangle and then I lift it up twice as high, the amount of gravitational force within and around it exerted upon it is only 1/4 of what it was previously. 1/4. 4 is 2 squared, the inverse square law. And so my point is that, sorry, I have to do these the right way. My point is that every time that you spend time in someone else's living mind, right, then your connection to them psychologically, spiritually, psychically is 4 times higher than it was previously. Right? So, if you do it again, it's 9 times higher. That's 3 squared. If you do it again, that's 16 times stronger. You get it? On and on and on and on and on. And so, what I'm saying is that even up until Tribeca, and this was something that I never appreciated until now, right? That between December, when he read my first letters, through the following June, 6 months, he had reviewed me. He had remote viewed me. Gosh, who knows how many times? 50 times. What's 50 squared? 2,500, isn't it? Right? And so in that way, seems like he spent all that time in my mind. He should have seen that if I'm holding a fucking letter to your face, I expect you to take it. Right? And now it's like 200 hours. It's like 300 hours. So my point is that the two of us are bound together forever. And in that way, right, I finally got some sleep. He's been paragon evil these last few days. Right? So I took some sleeping pills and I did my best to sleep. And who do you think was there? Right? My point being that I feel like up until last night, maybe we weren't bound together forever. But I began lucid dreaming and knew that they were there. And then I woke up. That's right. What's the point that I'm driving at here now? That dreams are a subconscious and an unconscious condition. So if my subconscious and unconscious mind comes to the reality, the understanding, the knowing, right, that I have psychic vampires occupying and holding real estate within my dreamscape, it therefore stands to reason that Quentin and Daniela and all these other people, perhaps 2 other people, perhaps it's just the 2 of them, perhaps it's just him, have all lodged permanent real estate inside of my mind and therefore in me and their mind as well. It's a two-way thing. It's not a one-way street. Every time he came into my mind, he let me into his mind. And I never cared. He left me alone. I regret not doing it. Even still. I despise him now, just like he despises me. He subjects me to the most disgusting evil anyone could possibly endure. And any lesser of a man would have blown his brains out months ago. But I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I did it. I always thought that I would just give him whatever he wanted, of course. But in that way, something compelled me to write a letter the day before. I don't know why. I don't know why. And when he didn't take the letter, and he turned his back on me, right? It was pretentious and arrogant, for sure. Of course, there's no hope for redemption, right? I mean, there could be. But the revelation that I had yesterday is that he's making the movie right now. And I don't know that, but I suspect that that's why he's putting all this evil over me. Even though it's his fault, it's not my fault. Right? It's not my fault that I have a wide mind that will let them... Right? It's fine. It's fine. Right? But can he hang? That's the point. And so that's why I wrote my document yesterday, because the evil of it all, it's just ugly and hideous. And if we don't reconcile, there's no hope for either of us psychologically. And so I sent that to, the New York Times and the New Yorker, and all the same places that I've been trying to reach out to for months. But I just told him, look, just publish the fucking document. Just let me tell the world that he can have my scene for free, right? And we're good. We're good. Like, sure, like, believe that I'm insane, like, whatever. Like, I say that's lazy journalism. Like, oh, you want to be a journalist, and then as soon as the famous person says something, oh, well, I don't have to hear anything else. Like, you're in the wrong fucking profession. So, my heart is with you all. Right? I live in a palpable fear. Right? That evil yesterday that he was putting on me, it was terrible. It was terrible. All just for... It's a sick game to him, It's a joke to him, like right now, So all I can do is endure. All I can do is keep talking about it. Just keep praying that he doesn't use hypodermic needles to try to give me diseases. Again, the video is a plea to the Pope, right? This is the nastiest evil anyone can be accused of, right? And so my point is that let's put us both on a polygraph. That's like, oh, he's saying things about me, like, you want to be a public figure, don't you? So share the channel, right? Let everyone know. God bless. See what's good in your life. Hold those dear to you close. Know that love is the engine that operates the world, nothing else. And you can operate on that same principle, or you can be a vampire and steal and suck the life out of everything around you. God bless.